Welcome everyone for our very first virtual initiation. I'm sorry it's virtual, but we got to deal with it, right? So today's agenda is going to be really friendly, really nice. I'm going to open the floor to Dr. Goma, and he's going to give us a little nice speech for everyone. Miss Sherry Peters will be presenting after about dining, professional dining etiquette. And then from there, you all will be initiated by me and our secretary and director of membership. And then that would be basically a summary of the night. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and open it to Dr. Goma if you'd like to say a couple words.
You're muted, Dr. Goma.
Thank you for that. So can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, again, thank you all for coming and for joining us for this virtual initiation or induction. We would have all loved to have you here kind of in a more face-to-face session, but thankfully we can at least do it virtually. First of all, I wanted to congratulate all of you for achieving this, for being recognized for your outstanding academic achievements, and for your induction today. But just keep in mind that your journey is only starting here, right? So you achieved this, you've joined Beta Alpha Psi, but you have to keep in mind that there's a lot more that needs to be done as you continue with your careers. So being a member of Beta Alpha Psi really requires continued professionalism, creativity, and your willingness to really work hard, not just now, but for the rest of your careers as well. So you should keep these characteristics in mind, and not only as you're continuing your schooling here, your last year, if this is your last year here, or if you've got a couple of years to go, but keep these characteristics in mind as you move on to your professional careers later on. But once again, I want to congratulate you all on this achievement, just being inducted here in Beta Alpha Psi today. And I just wanted to welcome everyone for joining us at this point. But before we move on to the rest of the evening, I just wanted to also thank the Beta Alpha Psi board for their outstanding work since the spring. I know it wasn't easy for them to do everything virtually. I know that you guys, you didn't really sign up, or you didn't think about what's going to happen when you first, ran for these positions that you ran for. You didn't expect all these changes. So I really want to thank you for all you've done up to this point, and I'm really looking forward to working with you for the rest of the year and trying to get things going. And I'm sure that you're going to do an outstanding job for the rest of the year. Once again, I just want to congratulate all of the inductees for coming, for joining, and I hope you enjoy the rest of this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Goma.
You're welcome.
With that being said, please, Mrs. Peters, you can go ahead and start your presentation.
Great, thank you. I share those sentiments with everyone. Oh, I just need screen sharing. There we go, perfect. Okay, so again, thank you so much. I'm going to be discussing etiquette essentials. Thank you for having me once again. I know that we were in a whole different set of circumstances last year. I think we were in person, so I will do the best that I can in regards to etiquette. So here we go. You're invited to lunch or dinner with an organization, and you arrive for the meal. You always want to make sure that you're a little bit early, just a tad bit early, and not to run in the restaurant. And I realize right now we're probably not experiencing that, but at some point, hopefully we'll get back to our new normal. Some other things to always think about before you arrive is eat a very light snack prior to the meal. And I was fortunate enough to co-present a couple of weeks ago with a recruiter who mentioned that oftentimes when they bring someone in to interview during a meal, they wait a while before they're seated, or they wait a while before they order food. So the recruiter did say and confirmed that a light snack prior to attending a lunch or dinner meeting with an employer is very, very important. So you're not too hungry. And then dressing in appropriate or proper attire, it does count. If the employer, the recruiter, the accounting firm says, oh, business casual, you still want to look dressed up and dressing appropriately and well-groomed. And you want to obviously look at the employer in the eye or the recruiter. And because of COVID, we're not necessarily shaking hands. It could be a fist or an elbow bump, depending on the situation. But my suggestion for this new environment would be to wait to see what the employer does first. And be ready with your introduction, saying hello, not just simply how's it going, but nice to see you again. Great to see you. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to be with all of you. So where do we sit? At a round table, most of you probably know where you should sit, but in case you don't, you will wait until the host chooses your seat. They may say, oh, sit wherever you want, but wait until that host sits down first and then take your seat. And these wonderful tables that are put together so lovely, so nicely, you'll want to take that napkin, whether it's in the glass, like in this example, sometimes it's on the plate, you'll just simply place that on your lap. Some other areas to be mindful of. I know for myself personally, it's very difficult. I generally do cross my legs under the table or at the table, but it's better for your posture to just sit and not cross your legs while you're seated at the table during an interview. Just keep your feet on the ground. Helps with the posture again, and it helps you to sit closer to the table. And then you may appropriately sip your water after you sit down and your napkin is on your lap. A few little extras here. If you have a purse, a laptop, an iPad, cell phone, umbrella, you don't want to put those items on the table. And I'm looking at my desk right now and I have my phone right on the table. But in that type of setting, you'll just want to put the items next to the chair or underneath the chair. And always keep your suit jacket on. If you're wearing an overcoat because it's raining or because it's cold out, you can certainly put that on the back of your chair. Nobody wants to eat a dinner or lunch meal with an overcoat on. So a very basic etiquette setup is shown here on this screen for a dinner meal. So most of us are seated and we're looking at all of this silverware, and sometimes there are more pieces of silverware. The general consensus is anything from outside in is what you will utilize first. So in this example with the forks, salad is generally what we eat before the meal, so the outer fork would be the one of your choice. My favorite places on this etiquette setup are the dessert fork and spoon. It's always so great to know at the end of the meal there might be something special and something sweet at the end of that meal. And then your water glass will be to your right, not to your left. And so just to show, I think everyone can see my hands. So it may come across backwards for you, but if you utilize your left hand and make a B, then you know that that is your bread plate. And then if you make a D with your right hand, then you know that's my drink glass. So that's how you can keep it straight. And I actually used that at a wedding last year under the table where nobody could see. So I could select my drink glass and my bread plate and make sure that it was in proper order, because it was a very proper wedding that we were invited to. So just something to keep in mind. Another few don'ts, and I'm telling you, I shouldn't tell you my secrets, but I am notorious for putting my elbows on the table when I eat at home. It's just out of habit for me. But when you're out with those employers or those recruiters, be very mindful, sit up straight, and then just don't place your elbows on the table. Don't put too much food in your mouth. Hopefully nobody just had their dinner. Sorry for the picture, but it's difficult when someone's looking at you and you have too much food in your mouth, or speaking with or talking to others with your mouth full of food. An employer's story, why a meal is part of the interview process, they simply would like to see how you interact with others, how pleasant you are with the staff, the wait staff, and those individuals at the restaurant. They want to see if you're gracious with those who invited you. They are also taking a look at precisely what you've ordered. Did you order something that's in the mid-range of pricing, or did you order something really, really expensive? And they just want to see your overall demeanor when you're interacting with everyone at the table as well. And it's very vital for some organizations, particularly even in accounting, if you're going to be out there with those clients and or customers. So they want to just make sure that you're eating appropriately and that you're going to interact appropriately with others. So the cloth napkin, I mentioned that just a little bit ago, but it's always worth repeating that the cloth napkin stays on your lap. If you need to excuse yourself to utilize the facilities, make sure that you leave your napkin on your chair and not on the table. And if you need to cough or sneeze, look away when you do that and don't utilize that napkin. Bring a handkerchief if you have some sinus situation and you're meeting with others. Just have your Kleenex and be very discreet. If you need to excuse yourself to take care of that, then do so. Again, at the end of the meal, you'll still keep the napkin on your chair and not ever place it on the table. So why are there so many utensils? Again, for a meal, the silverware is placed in order of use. So the outside is first, such as the salad fork in that other photo that I shared. And the servers, those staff members, they will readjust your silverware as well as the glassware. But always remember, outside first. And bread and butter, I was tempted to take this off the slides, but I think it's important to make sure that your bread and butter knife, and so it's shown on this picture in the lower left-hand corner, that you'll want to keep that butter knife on your bread plate at all times. And then you do break the bread or the rolls with your fingers, and that you not utilize that butter knife to try and cut your bread, which I used to do all the time. So if the basket of bread is directly in front of you and it's a group of individuals, you'll pass it to the right. But the butter knife, that is to be utilized for the butter or whatever they have within that dish for the bread. So that's what you utilize to obtain the butter, and then you spread that on your bread. But you'll break your bread with your fingers. And then a couple other things to look out for. So salt and pepper always pass to the right as a pair and not separate. So they do go as a pair. If someone to your right or someone to your left asks first, you will pass it and not serve yourself and then pass it along. And salad dressings will also be passed to the right. but you ask someone to the left first if they care for dressing. And I love ranch dressing just as many of you probably do as well. So small amounts on your salad, especially if it's in this type of ceramic, I forget what to call this. Make sure that you leave enough for everyone. So, and there's usually a spoon with that. So rather than just pouring it out, utilize the spoon that is in that ceramic container. And then resting versus finished. So if you think about a clock and you're taking a rest, let's say you have a rather large meal and you just want a few moments to relax, or you'd like to answer questions during this meal interview, resting is shown to the left here at 8:20. But when you're finished, completed your meal, you can place your knife and fork at 4:20, and that lets the server know that you have completed your meal. So when resting, it's 8:20, and then when finished, 4:20. So once in a while, individuals will order something that they have no idea what it's going to taste like. And again, when I co-presented a couple of weeks with an employer, there were a few stories that were funny when you think about it, but not so funny for the interviewee. And so just know exactly what you're ordering, and perhaps look on the menus on the website and look at the menus ahead of time. Simple is better when you are going out with an employer. But if it's something that is special for the restaurant or something, cut the item into really small pieces, as small as you can, because that way it won't be so difficult if you don't much care for it. If something is inedible, such as a seed or something, you can place it on the prongs, the top part of your fork, and then place on the edge of the plate. So just be very mindful. Again, simple is better. If it is a steakhouse and you're not someone who eats steak, then hopefully they have an alternative, maybe a vegetarian meal or a chicken for you. But again, it's probably not a good idea to order lobster. In fact, this employer mentioned that he heard that someone had ordered a full lobster, and not everyone knows how lobster is prepared at every single restaurant. It's different at different places. So just again, be very, very mindful of what you're ordering. So conversations while at lunch or dinner, just be mindful not to speak too loudly so everyone in the restaurant can hear your voice. Think about the knife as well, and I do this a lot when I'm speaking. I lift my knife up, but you don't want to lift it up too high. Try and keep it on your plate as much as possible. Always show that interest in the recruiter's conversation and not necessarily just what you're speaking about. And you'll talk about business after the main meal, unless the recruiter brings it up. Some of the simple topics that are brought forth from recruiters as far as conversation might be, what are your plans over the next few years? What's your ultimate goal once you complete those plans? Perhaps they may talk about the weather, perhaps some different types of sports. And if you're not someone who knows much about sports, you can be honest and just say you don't know something about basketball or whatever it might be. But you can talk about something else that you might be interested in. It just shows that you're interested in having a conversation with the recruiter or with all of those that are at the meal. And then again, if you need to leave to utilize the facilities, excuse yourself prior to leaving the table. And lastly, and for a third time, make sure that you keep your napkin off the table, leave it on the chair. This is always a tricky question. Who pays? And I do get a lot of laughs from students. Employers or recruiters ask you to attend that lunch or ask you to attend that dinner, but always be prepared to pay for your own lunch. Borrow a friend's debit card if you need to. Borrow a credit card. Hopefully you'll have enough. Or don't buy a really, really expensive meal. We can sort of assume that they're paying if they asked, but you never know what might happen during that situation. So again, bring a card. I know no one really utilizes cash anymore, but have something on hand so you could at least ask to pay for your lunch and or ask to pay or contribute to the tip. Employers are generally going to say, oh, no, thank you. But it does show that you're being very professional if you ask to help. So what happens at the end of this meal? Do you just leave? Well, yeah, you'll want to thank the recruiter, thank them for their time. Again, shaking hands, that's sort of on pause right now. But is it an elbow bump or is it a fist bump? Are we just waving goodbye? Not sure what that specific employer is doing at this time, but always just be prepared. Be gracious about it. Again, leave your napkin on the chair and always follow up with a thank you note. And I do realize that many students send that thank you note via email. There's nothing wrong with that type of correspondence. But what stands out more, and actually what this recruiter said 2 weeks ago, they wait to see which individuals send a handwritten thank you note. Those are the individuals that stand out over the other people. So if you can, stop by Dollar Tree or go to Party City. They have packages of thank you notes, something that's a little bit more plain, but write out that thank you note. And hopefully you'll have the address and you can send that handwritten note to those individuals that you met with. And here's some additional helpful hints. And this is difficult for me, but you'll want to limit yourself to 1 or 2 packages of sugar or sweetener in your iced tea or in your coffee. And for some people, they like more. So that's a little bit of a challenge. You should always eat correctly. If you're not sure of the proper way to eat an item, just follow the lead. Hopefully they ordered the same item that you did. Pass the salt and pepper together and to your right. If there's something in your food, hair or otherwise, discreetly remove it, eat around it, or politely ask the server to bring you another plate. That is rare that this would happen, especially now with everything going on, but just be mindful of that. And if the host, the individual who invited you, keeps their jacket on, you should do the same. If it's extremely hot in a restaurant, just ask, do you mind if I remove my jacket? It's quite warm in here. And then lastly, as I've met with so many of you, but the Career Center is available for assistance Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. General questions, you can send an email to career@cpp.edu. We do host the virtual drop-in advising Monday through Friday from 11 to 3. You simply email careercounseling@cpp.edu. But I've been quite delighted with so many students who have attended my virtual drop-ins on Tuesdays and Wednesday afternoons. And students have been scheduling through Handshake, so continue to do so. And all of us are generalists, although I am liaison to business. I'm happy to schedule an appointment with you, hour-long, to go over job search or mock interviews and so forth, and you can schedule those on Handshake. If you don't find availability, please just email me at crpeters@cpp.edu, and I'd be happy to get something scheduled with any of you. And I will be passing along a handout that I usually provide to students during etiquette. So it goes over all of these items that I spoke about this evening. And it also gives some additional tips for dressing appropriately for interviews, as well as for dining etiquette interviews as well. So I'll make sure that I pass that along so everyone can receive a copy of that. And then I will save this as a PDF so all students have access to it after this evening's workshop. Are there any questions? I always like to leave a little bit of time if anyone has any particular questions.
I actually do have a question. Is it true that like most firms that they'll like after your second round interview, they'll ask you for that dining etiquette, or is it something that comes along after the job offer?
It's been my experience that this is either going to be a second or a third interview before they offer you, or they're ready to offer you the job, but this is just the icing on the cake, as they say, just to make 100% sure you're the right individual. And they're probably only taking one individual to lunch, so one candidate. So if you're selected, that's probably a good sign that you'll be offered the position after the lunch or after the dinner.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
A question. So you mentioned how they might notice whether you spend a moderate amount or an expensive item. So what would that matter? Like, what does that tell them?
It kind of broke up at the end, Kevin. I'm sorry. So does it matter? Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So what, like, oh yeah, it likely matters. Now, how does it matter? What does it tell them about the candidate?
Well, so if you were to order like the most expensive, I don't know, most expensive meal, whether that be a steak or a combo meal, that kind of shows like, hey, I'm just out here to get a good meal because I'm a starving student. And they might wonder, well, why did you do that? Because normally when you go, if you're on a budget yourself as a student, right, or someone just starting out, you're probably not going to order the best item. You're going to be conscientious of your money and probably spend somewhere in the middle. So if you go way overboard, let's say all those recruiters that are there, they all order, I don't know, they all order a chicken salad for lunch, all of them. That's what they get. And then you order this combo plate with chicken and ribs and, you know, a steak. They're going to really wonder why you did that, and it's not really appropriate to do that. So sometimes what you can do in order to figure out what that price range is to say, oh, you know, I'm not quite ready. If you wouldn't mind taking their order first, then you can hear what they're ordering. Then if you know they're all ordering chicken salads, then you probably want to kind of do the same thing. Unless you have an allergy, then obviously you would need to order something different. And we all have food allergies, believe you me. So, you know, just try and do your best. That's why it's always good to prepare if you know where you are going to go for lunch. Look at the menu so you know exactly what you could order in that mid-range level where you don't have any issues with food sensitivities. So.
Perfect. Sounds good.
Any other questions? I know I didn't cover it all. I know it's totally different, but for a lot of you, I'm sure you have no issues sitting with an employer. You're already nervous, and then trying to eat food with people who could potentially be your supervisor or even, you know, director or however you want to name it. It can be really challenging. So it's not the most favorite event for me, even when I go out for lunch with different employers and with my director and things like that, I think it's gotten easier over the years. I prefer just to have my lunch in my office. But when we do go out, you know, I do my best to interact with them. And there are some nerves, and I'm not looking for a job. I'm simply out with employers. So I think for a lot of students, it can be a little nerve-wracking, but you know, hopefully they won't be doing too many right now. And then hopefully as we move along, each of you will get more comfortable with that. But you can always come in when we're back on campus, come to my office, we'll have lunch. We can practice.
Nice.
If we, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So speaking of which, what was I gonna say? Did the employer tells you like beforehand where you will eat, or do they just say, oh, we're going to a restaurant?
Well, you would need to know where you're going, and they probably would plan it ahead of time because they're mindful that students have class and you may not be able to meet them directly after an interview. It's usually after, so they'll set up a time frame. Are you available Thursday, or are you available Friday? Yes, I'll be leaving, you know, after class, even if it's online. And okay, well, here's the address where we'll meet you for lunch, or where we can meet you for dinner. And that way, that gives you some time to look that up and prepare ahead of time.
Okay. Good point. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then I'm gonna go ahead and take the floor. Thank you, Mrs. Peters, for your presentation today. So I'm gonna say a couple words before we start our official ceremony of initiation. First of all, I wanna thank you everyone for being so active with this organization given the current circumstances. I know it's been challenging for us, and it's been challenging for you to attend all these craziness and all the meetings and all that great stuff. So it shows, you know, your dedication to this organization and showing up to every general meetings. Like, I see these names all the time, and trust me, it makes me happy, and it makes my day to see you in every meeting that we've put, you know, effort for you guys. And I just adding on to what Dr. Goma said in the beginning, you know, it's not only making it so far, or, you know, getting accepted after the application, or paying your initiation fee. Once you join Beta Alpha Psi, you're joining in for life. You will continue to be part of this organization and this Greek society for life, and you will continue to represent us and Cal Poly and even CPSA and all that good stuff because you graduate within our chapter. So with that being said, you know, I wish you guys all carry that legacy and, you know, that promise of being a great professional member, not only at Cal Poly Pomona, but in your future professional career. If you decide to come back and give back to us, that would be great. And I would love to see all of you guys. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start our professional ceremony. So I won't keep you here for any longer. As you all know, Beta Alpha Psi is a scholastic and professional organization dedicated to advancement of financial information professions. To improve our professions, we must set our standards high. Accordingly, to suppose a Beta Alpha Psi and the Iota Chi chapter are to instill a desire of self-improvement, to foster high moral and ethical standards, to encourage and give recognition to scholastic and professional excellence, to cultivate a sense of responsibility and service, to promote a collegiate study of financial information, and to provide for its members opportunities to associate with practicing professionals, Honorary membership in Beta Alpha Psi is a recognition of your professional accomplishment, your contribution to the financial information profession, and your support of Beta Alpha Psi. Our organization endeavors to stimulate interest in financial information professions. This can be accomplished in large measures by participating in the activities of this chapter. Our Vice President, Mr. Walter Fong, will now discuss some of the qualities necessary for a successful professional career, which you have demonstrated.
Thank you. Through your practice in the field of financial information, you have displayed your competence in the technical aspects of the profession. Honesty and intellectual integrity are the foundation upon which financial information professions are built. Your future association with Beta Alpha Psi should help you to identify and develop these qualities necessary for successful professional career, such as loyal service, respect for confidence, professional bearing, responsible behavior, due regard for personal appearance, and ability to communicate with others. We have reviewed your record of past accomplishments in service, and we judge you worthy of honorary membership in our organization. Our corresponding secretary, Allison, will now explain the importance of 3 personal attributes to the well-being of the accounting profession.
You have shown that you recognize the importance of, first, maintaining your intellectual curiosity throughout your career. Second, striving to maintain a high standard of personal responsibility. Because of that nature to work of a financial information professional, it is essential that you are a person of integrity, conducting yourself with honor in all situations. Third, cultivate a genuine tolerance of the attitudes, opinions, and personal characteristics of others. If we practice the attributes of scholarship, responsibility, and tolerance, you will exemplify the ideals for which our organization stands, and which are fundamental for the well-being of society. Now, I will explain the meaning of the organization's emblem. The emblem of Beta Alpha Psi denotes the promise of careers for business information professionals. The rising sun signifies these professional positions as rising ever higher among economic activities. The crossed eyes symbolize knowledge as means of opening the doors of the financial world. The letters Beta, Alpha, and Psi denote scholarship, social responsibility, practicality, respectively. Our treasurer, Valerie, will now administer the Pledge of Membership.
Thank you. So having become acquainted with the purposes and responsibilities of membership in Beta Alpha Psi, will you accept them? If so, answer, I will.
I will.
Will.
I
I
will.
will.
I will. I will.
I will.
I will.
I will.
Okay, thank you. And before I start the pledge, can I please ask everyone to turn their cameras on if possible? If not, I understand. Okay. All right then, so please raise your right hand and repeat the membership pledge after me. I, Valerie,
I,
James.
Walter
I,
Wong,
Enrique.
Brian.
I, Lazaro.
I, Kelsey,
do solemnly promise
do solemnly
solemnly promise
that I will abide by the International Constitution
that
I will abide
the
by
International
the
Constitution
Constitution.
and chapter bylaws
and
Chapter
chapter bylaws
of Beta Alpha Psi
Of Beta
of Beta Alpha Psi
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my
my
ability.
ability.
I further promise to maintain
I further
Further
promise to maintain
The
the highest moral and professional standing
the
highest moral and professional standing
and always to foster the ideals
and
always to foster the ideals
and purposes of Beta Alpha Psi.
and purpose.
and purposes of Beta Alpha Psi.
Right, so with that, on behalf of Beta Alpha Psi, I will now welcome you into Beta Alpha Psi as official members. So thank you, everyone, and we're so happy to welcome you now as final members. So if we were, virtual and face-to-face, I will give you all hugs and kisses and every good thing we can, but I can't do that right now. So fly kisses and congratulations for making it so far. And I'm gonna take a really quick screenshot of everyone, if that's okay, to be like our membership picture. So I'm doing that right now. Okay, perfect.
Oh, you didn't let me smile.
Okay, here's one more time. Smile, everybody. Yay. Okay, with that being said, we're done with our initiation ceremony. Thank you everybody for coming in. And I know we mentioned in the email that we will be asking you to pick up your certificates and your shirts. We are in the process of getting those shirts. So we got part 1, we have part 2 left. So once we have everything, I don't want you guys to come back and forth to campus. We'll set a date and we'll send an email to everybody to come and pick up their stuff. And with that being said, that basically ends our ceremony today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to, raise your hand, or if not, then you are free to go.
One quick thing. I know that some of you guys can't pick it up on campus. That only applies to the people who can. A few of you guys have already reached out to me, letting me know that you guys can't. So just if that doesn't apply to you guys, are good. I already have your guys' updated address on file, and if you guys need to update it, you guys can just email me. But yeah, we'll be given one date for everyone to just come down to campus, and you guys won't have to move back and forth.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here, and have a great night. Enjoy your weekend.
Enjoy
Thank
the
you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Have a
Come
good
on,
night.
Parag.
Congratulations.